A lot of people talk about Allianz Life as a global leader, strength. We're an industry leader. We've got a really good reputation worldwide. We were founded in 1896 in Munich, Germany. Currently, we have over 3.7 million contract holders. In 2021, we were voted one of the world's most ethical companies, and Fortune ranked us number 52 out of the top 100 companies to work for. So worldwide, we have over 150,000 employees. We're in 70 different countries. As far as Allianz SC, they're our parent company. They're the 46th largest company in the world, 5th largest asset manager, 3rd largest diversified insurance company based on assets, and number 1 ranked insurance brand globally among the top 40 best global brands. So my point here is Allianz is enormous, and a lot of people in America, North America too, Canada as well, they're not too familiar with our brand, but if you travel, you'll see the Allianz name all over Europe and Asia. And, I don't know, I should have checked, but, part of the Middle East, India, places like that, I'm sure we've got a presence as well. But here in the United States, primarily what we are focused on is indexing through annuities and through life insurance. So part of the Allianz family you'll see here in North America, we have our Allianz Global Investors, our investment management program. We also have PIMCO, if you're familiar with PIMCO. They're one of the world leaders in bond and fixed instrument investments. They're part of the Allianz family. On the right-hand side there's Allianz Life Insurance. That's our headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My division is actually located there on the top floor. That's the 10th floor. It's funny, I live in the Seattle area. Vikram, actually I live in just north of Seattle, more Mill Creek area. And but I used to travel back to Minneapolis quite a bit. I actually have a desk in that top floor, but I haven't gone there in almost 2 years now because of the pandemic. So I asked somebody to send me a picture because I know I just have a plant that nobody's watered. It's just sitting on that desk all lonely. So anyway, when it comes to our rankings, this is something people ask about. Well, how strong is your company? I mean, can I trust you to be around in the future? If you look at our standards and ratings, S&P, AM Best, Moody's, they all give us their top ratings, and that gives us a combined Comdex score of 94. There's only 3 life insurance companies that I'm aware of right now that have a Comdex score of 94 or higher. Anything in the 90s is one of the stronger companies that you can be entrusting with your life insurance needs. So we're really proud of that Comdex score. As far as when you take a look at sales in the consistency, if you look at IUL, that's the top piece here. Since 2013, Allianz has been in the top 5. Now, this hasn't been updated, but for 2021, we've actually been the number 1 carrier in the independent space for indexed universal life insurance. And then if you take a look on the bottom part, that's for indexed annuities. Now, I won't be covering the annuities today. That's another department. But if you have questions about that, let me know. I'll put you in touch with the annuity team. Allianz, as you can see here, since 2013, there's only been 1 year where we weren't the number 1 carrier when it came to indexing annuities. Now, the reason we're number 1 in indexing is because we're really unique in the industry in that we have our own indexing desk located there in Minneapolis. What that means is we create our own indexes inside of our IUL and our fixed indexed annuities, as well as we've got some other carriers that have asked us to take a look at building indexes for them. What that means is we're not going out to a third-party bank and having to pay them to build our indexes or go out onto the options market and buy the options for these indexes. We do it all in-house. And our indexing desk is what they call profit neutral. It's truly there just to support the product and your customers so they can have as an efficient portfolio as possible. So that allows us to be innovative in our features. You're going to see indexes of Allianz you're not going to see with any other carrier. What it allows us to do is purchase higher grade bonds because of the cost savings. Over the last 10 years, we've saved over $1 billion in fees by doing our own indexing. And it gives us less exposure to any sort of investment bank failure. We all saw, unfortunately, that happened back in like 2009, 2010, saw some investment banks go out of business. That's a risk that we've taken off the table at Allianz. So our innovation, Allianz really does try to be a leader in the industry when it comes to coming up with new ways to enhance these products. We were the first carrier. In fact, and all the way back in 2005, we had the monthly sum crediting method. We still use that to this day as an option. In 2008, we came out with the blended indexing strategy. So it wasn't just a straight S&P 500. It was a blend. We still have the blend today. It's one of our most popular indexes. In 2013, we came out with the trigger method. If I've got time, I'll talk about the trigger a little bit later, but it's been very popular. In 2013 as well, we also came out with our volatility managed indexes, and I'll definitely be getting into that in a little bit, but those have become very popular. All the ones I've just talked about are strategies that other carriers, after we launched it, have copied and implemented in their products as well. I'm starting to see many more carriers now introduce the volatility managed indexes to help create a smoother ride throughout the year in the markets. You don't see all the crazy ups and downs of the volatility managed index. Allianz launched it first. All the others have followed. Now, where they haven't been able to follow us yet, however, is in our index and auto lock strategies. I'll get into that. But just to kind of put that carrot out there for you, what index lock allows you and your client to do is, with our two most popular indexes, our Bloomberg and our PIMCO, if you are happy midway through the year with your year-to-date return and would like to guarantee it for your client, with index lock you can. So it's a way for you to help cut out some of the volatility in the market by saying, hey, look, I'm really happy with the return I've earned year-to-date. I'd like to guarantee it at year-end. You can do that with index lock. The only reason we're able to do that and other carriers cannot is because we have our own indexing desk. I'll dive more into index lock a little bit later, though. So here's what you have when you come to sell our life insurance product. First and foremost, on there's a wheel here in the very top left. You got your wholesaling team. I'm the lead of the wholesaling team. So first and foremost, you've got me and my team. You can always reach out to any of our wholesalers nationwide if you've got questions, both internally and externally. Our internal teams, they're there to dedicated to help answer questions, run illustrations for you. The externals like myself, we do presentations like this. We're actually out and about now. Before, we're doing pretty much everything via webinar, but we're actually getting out in the areas where travel is permitted. You'll have a dedicated case manager through WFG, which is great. So as your cases in underwriting, you will have a point of contact on the underwriting team, the case manager, that if you've got questions, they'll help answer them for you. Of course, you got your underwriting team. Our underwriting team is specialized. So depending on the type of policies you're writing, if it's a large case, which means like a $10 million death benefit or higher, there's a team for that. If it's a premium finance case, we have a team for that. Those are just examples that we utilize. If it's special or risk, or I guess the best way to put it, if it's a celebrity or like a CEO or a member of the government, we have a different team for that as well. Beyond that, we have a product and sales training team. I'm kind of stepping in for them right now, but we're happy to put you in touch with them as far as doing more training and giving you some sales ideas. Once your business is in force, we've got our in-force business team. So if you're getting ready for a client review in the future and you'd like to have an in-force illustration, we can show you how to do that or run it for you. In addition to that, our in-force team takes care of your clients way out into the future. So if your illustration showed a change, say 20 years in the future, like they wanted to start taking withdrawals out of a policy, for instance, our in-force team will work with you in that example 20 years in the future to make sure it's still appropriate for your client. And of course, the new business team, which is kind of the case managers and underwriting all rolled in together. My point is, we have a team approach here at Allianz. We want you to be successful. We want you to sell the product the right way. And we want to do as much as we can to make that easy for you. So next headline, why life insurance with Allianz? Well, IUL, like all life insurance, first and foremost, the primary piece of it is the death benefit protection, which can be used, you know, when somebody passes away to help offset, replace their income, take care of final expenses, you know, debts like your mortgage, student loans, cars, credit cards, set aside money for college funding, just other financial emergencies and other financial needs that come along when somebody passes away in a family. But there's also a lot of the living advantages. These living advantages are for the people that actually, you know, are the insured or the owners of the policy. You know, what's in it for me before I pass away? And that's your accumulation potential. That's really where Allianz shines. It's the cash value accumulation in our policies. Usually it illustrates extremely well. The tax advantages, of course, as you may or may not know, money that grows inside of life insurance grows tax deferred. And then if done properly, you have access to the cash value in the future through loans or withdrawals. And if done correctly, that money comes out tax-free. Cash value there is really important. That's what most people are attracted to when it comes to Allianz. And then access to the death benefit in the event that you have a chronic or terminal illness. Chronic illness is similar to long-term care. If you were to have a cognitive impairment or lose 2 out of your 6 activities of daily living, things like, eating, dressing yourself, transferring yourself, and, getting from one place to another. If you become unable to manage that, you have access to your death benefit ahead of time. And, of course, a terminal illness is when a doctor notifies you have less than a year to live, you have access to your death benefit before you pass away in that example as well. So the advantages, of course, is if done properly, the tax advantages are you have that income tax-free death benefit, tax-deferred accumulation potential that I talked about, and then, of course, those income tax-free loans and withdrawals from the policy. So when you look at Allianz, there we go, the little chart moves. If you look at this chart, you got a P and an A. The P is the protection side. You got different, when you look at life insurance, there's different ways you can use it. On the protection side, just pure protection might be term insurance. What you're paying a fee, you get a death benefit. If you pass away, the death benefit pays. It's pure protection. That's all you're really paying for. I have term insurance. I think it's great. Maybe a GUL as well, guaranteed universal life insurance, might be over on the protection side. Then as you move closer towards the accumulation side, you're going to see things like whole life insurance, maybe just universal life insurance, all the way up to variable universal life, and of course, indexed universal life, which is what we focus on here, where the goal is a death benefit, but also I'd like accumulation. I'd like to see the cash values grow, and I'd like to be able to access those in the future. So the target market for Allianz is first and foremost somebody that needs the death benefit protection, but they're also looking to diversify their portfolio. They want to have another financial vehicle. So that might include what we call the Henrys. These are your high earners, not rich yet. These are typically younger people that are a bit affluent. They've maxed out their qualified plans, like a 401k through their employer. Maybe they've maxed out an IRA, or their income levels at a place where they're not even able to utilize a Roth IRA. So they're looking for, another avenue where A, they can get protection, but B, they're looking for that accumulation and the tax benefits that you do enjoy through life insurance. Of course, the affluent come into play. These are, as it says here, your people with discretionary income. Again, they're looking for another resource to supplement their retirement. The beauty that a lot of advisors use when they're talking to people like this is asking these clients, what are you doing for tax-free money in the future? And there's only so many avenues you can go down, municipal bonds maybe, but they don't have much of a return these days. You can do a Roth IRA, but a lot of these people, they earn too much to even really take advantage of a Roth. So life insurance starts to become that option that many of them haven't even been made aware of in the past, and it's a real good opportunity for you. Your transitioning boomers, as we like to put it, these are the clients that are 5, 10 years away from retirement. They've got idle assets that they're, looking to utilize. Sometimes these are people, I see this with agents tell me, these are people that have money set aside and their goal is, I'm going to use this money is for my spouse if I pass away. And there's an opportunity there. It's like, well, we could use that money, and instead of just having it sitting in this account you currently have it in, if it's appropriate, why don't we use that money to fund a life insurance policy for yourself so that if you pass away, there would be even more money for your spouse in a tax-free manner. Plus, the accumulation can grow, and you could access it in the future with some tax advantages as well. And, of course, your small business owners. These are always great opportunities. I'd say an awful lot of our max-funded policies are being utilized by your small business owners. These are people that have got good income. They're looking for opportunities to save outside of their business. But what I hear oftentimes is they'd love to do something like a 401k, but either the company's too small or their employees aren't going to take advantage of it, so it becomes what they call top-heavy, so it kind of defeats the purpose. These are people that are absolutely great targets for you when it comes to saving for the future. So the positioning points you want to utilize when you're talking about Allianz is we have a real simple indexing story. It's not too complicated. You simply choose a bonus, you choose your index, you choose your crediting method. I'll get into that next. I'll talk to you a little bit more about index lock, the bonuses that are available inside these policies for your clients. The one thing to know about that we have 3 bonus opportunities. They're all guaranteed. They'll never change in the future. And there's one that has a cost to it. That cost will never change as well. So it's not like in the future the bonus could go down or the cost could go up. You're guaranteed and locked in with Allianz. Of course, access to income tax-free loans. We have fixed and variable loans. Both of those are guaranteed as far as the rate that we charge for those if you utilize them. And then, of course, the living advantages and product riders. So our index story, like I said, is pretty simple. You choose an index, you choose a bonus, you choose a crediting method. So here are your indexes that are currently available inside the Life Pro Plus Advantage. First and foremost, our top 2 are most popular. You have our Bloomberg US Dynamic ER Index. These are what they call dynamic allocations. It's just a mixture of an equity portfolio managed through Bloomberg and then a bond portfolio that's also managed by Bloomberg. Then we have the PIMCO Tactical Balance Index. It's comprised of equities in a futures index, and then the PIMCO Synthetic Bond Index. Now, the Bloomberg and the PIMCO are unique. All of our indexes have a floor of 0, first and foremost. So if you understand indexing, you've got a floor of 0. So if, say, the PIMCO allocation would have gone to -5, you wouldn't have a -5, you'd have a 0 that year. However, if it's up 5, you capture that 5. But both the Bloomberg and the PIMCO have that floor of 0, but they have no cap. So there's no limit on the gains you get inside those indexes. That's why they're super popular. They're also what they call dynamic allocations. So they're volatility controlled. Now, if you've got questions, don't hesitate to ask here. What they do literally on a daily basis is they take a look at the volatility in the market. They go back, they take a look 30 days and 90 days in the past. And if volatility is high, then what they'll do is move money from the equity side of these portfolios, like the Bloomberg or the Futures Custom Index, and they'll move it over to the bond side. 3% a day is the max. So if volatility is high, they'll start moving money out of the equities and more towards fixed for protection. When volatility is low, they'll do the opposite. They'll move it from fixed or cash components over to the equities to take advantage of a rising market. What these indexes allow you to do then is it's a much smoother ride through the market. You don't have these crazy ups and downs like you might see if you're just looking at the NASDAQ or the Dow or the S&P on a daily basis. These are very smooth rides. Typically, we'll see maybe a 0.5% move in any one day. So they're not volatile at all. That's what makes them very popular. People can rest easy when they're in the Bloomberg or the PIMCO. The blended index is also very popular. It's a mixture of 35% in the Dow, 35% in the Bloomberg Barclays Bond Index, 20% in Euro stock, and 10% in the Russell 2000. This has become very popular. Actually, this one does have a floor of 0 as well, but it has a cap. The cap depends on your bonus, but right now, I believe the cap's at 14.5%, which is a very high cap, which is nice. We also have the S&P 500. That's the mainstay. That's what you're going to find just about every other carrier. They're going to have the S&P, and that's the primary index that they offer. We have the S&P as well. And then, of course, we have a fixed component, just a fixed account that currently pays 4.3% for the next year. Now, you can use one or all of these indexes. So you can allocate 20% to each if you wanted to. You could do 50% in Bloomberg, 50% in the blend. It's your choice for you and your client. You decide. And once a year, you can change your allocation to anything else you'd like. So if you like the Bloomberg and the PIMCO mix this year, and then next year you go, you know what, I want to add the blend, go right ahead. You can always reallocate once a year. I kind of already went over these. So then you choose your bonus opportunity once you've picked your indexes. So if you want, you can just go with the standard, no bonus, and that will provide you, I can pull up actually, we've got the new rate. They actually changed today. They went up, which is great. Pull that up for you real quick. So let me see here. I apologize, I should have had this ready. Here we go. So you can do the standard, no bonus. With the standard, of course, you always have the floor of 0. But with the Bloomberg and the PIMCO, you get a 166.75 participation rate. So what that simply means is if the Bloomberg or the PIMCO earn 10%, you multiply that by 1.6675. So essentially you'd earn a little over 16.5% in that allocation. That's the standard. Also, the blended index now in the standard, the cap on that is 15.75%. Pretty high. That's great. And at the S&P, the cap is 10.25%. We also have the classic bonus. Now, the classic bonus is a guaranteed flat rate bonus. All it does is simply adds another 0.9% at the end of the year to whatever you earn. So if you earn 10%, you would get 10.9. It's that simple. We also have a 15% multiplier. What that simply means is whatever you earn, multiply it by 1.15. So if you earn 10%, multiply that by 1.15, you'd actually have earned 11.5%, plus you would take the participation rate into account, which is 145%, so you multiply that by another 1.45, so you're looking at around 15 or 16% in that example. And then our most popular is our select allocation, and that's a 40% multiplier. So whatever you earn, you're able to multiply that by its participation rate of 140%, and then multiply that by another 0.4, so another 40%. Now, the 40% bonus does come with a 1% asset charge. So just be aware of that. So because we have to, there's a cost to that bonus. That 1% asset charge is only money allocated to a select allocation. So let's say your account had $50,000 in it, and you allocated that towards the 40% bonus. That means there would be a $500 fee to be in the select allocation, but then you would get a 40% bonus on any interest earned in the Bloomberg or the PIMCO that year. Okay.
A quick question,
so
Jason,
I can pass these slides down.
If that's okay.
Yes, sir.
If you can go back to the, I think you're sharing, if you can go back to the previous slide, why would anyone choose, if there is no asset charge for standard, classic, and bonus, why wouldn't anyone choose 15% always bonus?
I completely agree. I would always encourage the 15% bonus, but honestly, if it was me, it's always up to you and your clients, but I actually think in the long term, the 40% bonus is actually the better way to go.
Sure.
If you take the participation rate into account, it's worth the 1% fee.
Sure, but within the no asset charge option, standard, classic, and bonus, why would anyone choose just the standard option if there is no charge for that and the bonus option?
Well, for the standard, the reason that's showing there is because that's really the only time you use that is with our S&P 500, because the S&P isn't available in the other options. It's only available under standard. And I'm going to get into that in a couple slides, but that's why it's there. I don't see anybody using the standard for anything but the S&P. They don't see it on the Bloomberg or the PIMCO or the blend.
Okay.
But on the other note, Vikram, right, if there is a market only did 0%, you still get a 0.9%. Why would you not choose the classic, right?
Yeah.
If the market performs only 0%, then you are still getting a 0.9%.
Yeah. Okay.
That's true. My counter though might be though, if you think the market's going to do 0, then I would go to the fixed account and earn 4.3.
Fixed account is
you
what,
absolutely know the market's going to do 0, call me. I would love to know how you know the future.
You said the fixed is 4.3?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It was 4.2 last week. We actually moved it up now, so it's 4.3 for all accounts for the next year.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this chart, and like I said, Vikram, I'll send you this email or this PowerPoint, so you can pull out the slides you like and you can pass them on. But here's a real simple chart, just kind of outlines what's available. So the main thing here you can see is the S&P has the annual point-to-point, the monthly sum, and the trigger on the far right. Those are all standard, no bonus. The annual point-to-point with the cap is pretty simple. You start, we'll just say today's date. A year from now, we take a snapshot and see how the S&P performed. The cap's 10.25%. If it earned between 0 and 10.25, that's what you get. If it earned above 10.25%, you still are capped at 10.25. The monthly sum at the cap, what that means is once a month we take a look at the S&P, and it has a monthly cap of 3.7% right now. So literally every month you could earn 3.7%. So if you were to add that all up over 12 months, I mean, there's potential for over a 40% return if it capped out every single month. And then the trigger method is pretty unique. Other carriers have this as well, but we started it. That simply states that as long as the S&P does not have a 0 year, so if it just earns 0.01% in this example, we will credit the account 7%. So let me just say that again. So as long as it earns above 0, you get a 7. So if it earns 5, you get 7 in these examples. Now, it's capped at 7, so if it earns 10, you still only receive 7. But some people really like the trigger if they're starting to take withdrawals, and they like to just allocate a little bit of money there to protect them against a potential 0 year, if that makes sense. The next piece I want to talk about, this is very popular, is our index lock. So with our Bloomberg and PIMCO allocations, you have access to our index lock program. And what index lock allows you to do is literally on a daily basis, after the close of the market, you can lock in the gains you've earned year to date. So let's just say you started a policy back in June, and you took a look today, and your Bloomberg account was up 6%, and your PIMCO account was up 14%. And I'm using those numbers because that's what I've been seeing this year. So let's say the PIMCO's up 14, you're like, 14 would be amazing. I hope I get 14% at the end of the year. Well, with index lock, you can guarantee it. Literally takes like 2 minutes. You just go online to your account, you click a big blue button that says index lock. It'll pull up your accounts that are available with index lock. In my example, you look at the PIMCO at 14% as a close yesterday. You'd hit the lock button, and now you've guaranteed that you've locked in at the close of business that PIMCO allocation. Now, the rest of the year, you're stuck there. So if say it went up to 20 or something like that, you did miss out. But if it goes down to a 0, you have guaranteed, in my example, 14% that'll be applied upon your contract anniversary. Now, taking a step further, what we did this year was we added what's called the auto lock feature. What auto lock allows you and your clients to do is tell us where you want it locked. So in other words, you don't have to keep an eye on it every couple of days. You literally would go in my example, you'd write in 14%. And what Allianz will do is if that Bloomberg or the PIMCO hits 14%, we will lock it in and guarantee it on your contract anniversary. There is no fee for this program. There's no spread or charges, or we don't say, well, you locked at 14, but then we actually take 2 to the company, so you only get 12. We don't do that. If you locked at 14, you will be credited 14% on the monies in that index at the end of the year. Any questions about index or auto lock?
I do. Couple of questions. One is this available only for Bloomberg and PIMCO?
At this time, we only have it on Bloomberg and PIMCO, but we are exploring offering it in the future on other indexes as well.
Okay. My second question is, let's say it started at 100 and I locked in at 114, so 14%. So for the remainder of the crediting period, there is going to be, it's locked. But when it starts the next year, is it going to start from 114 or whatever it would have ended at the anniversary date?
That's a great question. Yeah, most people don't ask that. Great question. It ends at whatever the index actually ended at. So in your example, you wouldn't start the next year at 114. You would start the next year wherever that index ended.
Interesting. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more quick question on that is, how are we dealing that with the monthly thing? Say the client keep depositing the money, accumulating the thing into monthly premiums.
Couldn't quite hear you. Could you repeat that?
So the client will be depositing or paying the premium every month, right? So how it
Sure.
would be addressed on a monthly? Say, they locked at 14, but next month whatever they put in, will it be on a monthly contract or will it be an annual contract?
Oh, great question. So however you're paying, we treat everything with one annual bucket, whether you're paying monthly, annually, semi-annually. So it isn't like every month with the payment you start a new index. That index begins and ends on your contract anniversary date. So what you need to do with Allianz is we just need to know what the planned premium is every year, whether you're paying annually or monthly. So let's just say your premium is going to be, I'll just make it easy, $12,000 a year, and you're going to do it monthly. So we just know that $1,000 a month is going to go in. So it'll just be all applied to that entire $12,000 at the end of the year. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is some people have asked, well, if I'm paying monthly, and all of a sudden I know I've guaranteed myself, in my example, 14%, why wouldn't I all of a sudden just start paying a lot more than my $1,000 a month in that example? Why wouldn't I put $5,000 a month in because I know I'm going to get 14% of that money? Because we know at the beginning of the year what your planned premium is, we will only apply that 14% to the planned premium that you told us about in the beginning of the year. So my example, $12,000. So if you told us you're going to pay 12, that index lock is only going to apply to that 12,000. If you put more in, that the rest of that money isn't going to earn that 14% in my example.
Interesting. So if the client takes the policy in a month of October now, so irrespective when they pay, like how much they pay during the year, only the credit will happen at the month of October, and the index ranges from October to October.
So I guess an example would be, say their contract started in January, and here we are in October, and you use the index lock. If you told us back in January that the planned premium was $12,000, then all the monies you put into that up to $12,000 will get full advantage of that index locked amount, or whatever that index earned, if that makes sense. It isn't like we cut you off in October. So you locked in October, your November premium and your December premium would still all get the benefit of the whatever you locked in at.
Okay. So January you will pay that thing, and from next year, from next Jan onwards, it is not all locked. It is unlocked again. So they are.
Great question. Yes, on your contract anniversary, we credit your account and the lock turns off. It resets, and you can choose to use it again the next year or not. You don't have to use index lock. It's just an option for you and your clients.
Okay. Good.
So Jason, one more question. So you mentioned about auto lock. Let's say we locked it 14%. So how is it going to help us auto lock? Like, I mean, you were saying you're going to validate if it is going to increase the amount. I mean, I did not understand that.
So you have two options. You can manual lock or you can set an auto lock. With auto lock, you just simply tell Allianz online, you type it in, at what interest rate. If the index ever hits that interest rate, we will lock it in for you. You don't have to request it. It'll just be automatic. You can also change your mind. So say you set it at 14 and you go, hey, if this index ever hits 14, I want you to lock it. And midway through the year, you think, you know what, I think it's going to do better than 14. You can go in and cancel that and change it to another number, or just cancel it altogether and just watch it yourself. So you have the option.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So if the client pays 12,000, it will be credited for 12,000. But in that year, if they want to use the universal thing and pay only 10,000, at the end of the year, it will be credited only for 10,000. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. But they cannot pay more. I mean, they can pay more, but it will not be credited for that extra amount.
Correct. Yeah, if you pay, you're only going to get credited on what your planned premium amount was. So in that example, $12,000. Say they paid 20. That next extra would just earn whatever the fixed account. It just goes into fixed for the remainder of that year. So whatever that portion would be.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
So this kind of goes over here what I talked about with auto and index lock. The other thing that's nice is you start writing more and more policies, what a lot of advisors can do is you can run what's called an index lock report. So what that allows you to do is go online to allianzlife.com, pull up your agent portal, and you can just say, I want an index lock report for every policy that I've written, and you tell us it has an index lock available above, say, 8%, for example. And it'll then run you a report of all your clients that at that time could lock above 8%. And that's just a nice way, you can reach out to your clients at that point and say, hey, you've got an opportunity here. Why don't we talk about it? So it's a way for you to keep getting those interactions with your clients, let them know you're still working for them. It's been really popular, those index lock reports. You'll also get every other week an automated report that I run for everybody that'll just show you anybody that you've written that has a lock capability above 10%. So that's one thing that my team does every other Monday morning. You'll get that in your inbox just saying, hey, here's a list of your clients that have a lock available above 10%. You can do something with it, you can do nothing with it. It's your choice. It's just there as a benefit. Policy loans, we have our fixed interest loans. These are pretty standard in the industry. For the first 10 years, if you borrow money from the policy with a fixed loan, there's a 1% fee. After year 10, so years 11 on, you can borrow with a fixed loan at 0%. It's a wash loan. So that's a way for clients to borrow money from their policies, and and that's tax-free, which is really popular. And that's one of the things a lot of our clients like to take advantage of with this Life Pro Plus Advantage. Your other option, of course, is the index loans. Not every carrier has these. If you're not familiar with these, let me know. We can do a training just on index loans if you'd like. But essentially, the way an index loan works, it's essentially what you're doing is people see this and they go, 5% charge. Why would I want to do that? Well, the reason you do that is you're borrowing at 5%, but you're not borrowing from your policy. You're actually borrowing from Allianz. And why that's important is that way the values in your policy stay the same, and they're still able to be in the indexes. So with a fixed loan, if I had $100,000 account value and I borrowed $20,000 with the fixed loan, I now have $80,000 in my policy. Pretty simple math. Took 20 out of that 100, so now I have 80 left. With an index loan, same $100,000 account, I borrow $20,000, I still will have $100,000 in my policy because that $20,000 loan came from Allianz. What that means is my policy still is able to participate in the market, still able to be in the indexes of my choosing, and then it just allows it to continue to potentially grow. Now, our clients on average earn over 7% a year. So the simple arbitrage math says, I borrow at 5, but I'm earning 7, so that borrowed amount is netting a 2% gain. So that's just an option you have available here with Allianz. The other nice option with Allianz is you can change your mind. So every year, say you did a fixed loan one year, do an index loan the next year, you can go back to a fixed loan. We're very flexible that way. I apologize, there's a fire truck running next door. It's very loud, let me know. Yikes. If you'd like information about these index loans or fixed loans, let me know. We've got materials. We could do another session just on these as well. So like I was saying before, the fixed and index loans, you can switch these every policy anniversary. You can have more than one loan, of course. So you could have index loans and you could have a fixed loan. It's your choice. It's your contract. Do what you'd like. What this does do also is we still allow you to keep your diversification and different allocations. Some carriers, the only reason I'm bringing this up is some carriers state that when you start taking loans, they'll then dictate how your money's allocated. With Allianz, we still let you choose the indexes you want to use, and we don't restrict your bonuses. So if you earned a bonus, it applies even if you have a loan out against your policy. As far as our living advantages go, like I mentioned before, we have our chronic illness accelerated death benefit. So if you have cognitive impairment or lose 2 out of your 6 activities of daily living, you can access your death benefit ahead of time. That's built into these policies. We have our premium deposit fund rider. This is kind of unique in that sometimes with some of these cases you'll work on, say the plan is for it to be $10,000 a year for 10 years. And a client will say, well, can I just write you a check for $100,000 right now? So I don't have to write a $10,000 check every year. I would just rather just give it all to you right now. Well, yeah, you can. So either have them write the check once a year for 10 years or write us one big check for $100,000. Allianz will put that in the premium deposit fund, and we'll make the premium payments for your client for the next 10 years. And currently that account still earns 2% on that money. Why that's important is in the future, say 5 years in the future, your client goes, you know what, I wish I could get that money back. I should have $50,000 left in that account. I'd like to get it back. I've got an opportunity. You can. No fee. If there's $50,000 left in the account, we just simply cut a check. We'll kick it out to your client. Here's your $50,000 back. Your policy's still in force. All you have to do now is you're just going to have to start making your annual premium payments going forward. Other riders and benefits, like I mentioned before, we have a terminal illness rider. We have child term riders, which are nice because they can convert to permanent insurance when the kids turn 18. Our enhanced liquidity rider, that's primarily used for premium financing. What that does simply waives all surrender fees from the start. Our loan protection rider, the way the loan protection rider works is as long as the policy has been enforced for 15 years and the client has reached the age of 70, if by taking another loan, the policy may lapse, what Allianz will do instead is, I just got your question there. I'll answer that question in just a second. As long as you don't want your policy to lapse, what we can do is then essentially create a reduced paid up policy. The reason you wouldn't want your policy to lapse if you've taken a lot of loans is any dollars above premiums paid, of course, become taxable income to your client, and we don't want that to happen. So what we'll do is just create essentially a burial plan for your client. The chronic illness rider is added on all policies free of charge. The premium deposit fund rider, this is to answer the question I got in the chat, is it's optional. It's if you want to use it. I'd say maybe 10% of our policies use that rider. Terminal illness rider is built into the contract. As far as optional riders, our child term rider, the enhanced liquidity rider are optional. The loan protection rider is built into the contract. If you want to write a term rider, supplemental term built in to blend into the contract, that's optional. Waiver of new charges and waiver of specified premium riders, those are also optional as well. So it's kind of like a disability. If you have some sort of a disability, we would waive charges going forward, but there's a cost to those. So as far as our underwriting process, we have our worksheet. There's no medical questions. What we do is we just do a personal history interview over the phone with the client. Then we do, your clients would need to take an exam where they do a physical measurement, height, weight. That's just a worksheet option. The other option, of course, is the long form, where you would ask the medical and occupational questions. There'd be no phone call with Allianz. Then there'd be a full paramed, where they'll do a blood draw, urinalysis, all those sorts of things. The option one, the worksheet, that's what we call the short form. And by the way, we have paper, but I really encourage everybody to use our online application process called App Online if that's available to you. I'm not sure, is that available through WFG? I forget. I think it may be. So
I think
with the worksheet process,
directly on the Allianz website, correct?
it's on the Allianz website, yes. So
Yeah,
the number one option, the worksheet option.
Yeah, it is available
Okay,
for the
cool.
people registered with Allianz already. If not, we have to go through Crump. Yeah.
Through Crump, okay, gotcha. The worksheet process, typically we find goes a little bit faster. Sometimes they'll waive paramed, sometimes they don't. But if you allow our team to do the personal history interview over the phone, that sometimes will really speed up the process. A little trick for you when it comes to underwriting. We encourage you, like I said here, apply now. It's online, it's simple, it's easy, it's very accurate. It doesn't let you, proceed if you've made a mistake. Just something I was guilty of as an agent when I started out. All we had was the paper apps, and so you forget to check a box or something, and all of a sudden you had to go back and redo it, get new signatures. And then when online app came in, it really it changed the game for me. It was great. It speeds up everything. Everything gets sent to Allianz securely. And then, just from you and your suitability, everything works out. And then ultimately, the final bullet point, commissions get paid faster when you use App Online. We do have an accelerated underwriting program. It's available for people applying ages 25 to 60. And the death benefit needs to be $3 million or less. So basically, as long as you have 3,000,001, you're good to go. And this is for people you applied at preferred non-tobacco or preferred plus non-tobacco. When you do, what they end up doing is when you submit it, basically what ends up happening, if you submit anybody between, if you use the short form, and they're between the ages of 25 and 60, 3 million or less, preferred, it immediately goes to accelerated underwriting just to take a look at. And what they're going to do there is they're going to run your client's motor vehicle report. They're going to take it the MIB, the Medical Information Bureau report. It's a database that our underwriters have access to. And then they're going to look at the prescription drug database and the consumer report. Now, the consumer report it's not a credit check, but it does take a look. Is there any bankruptcies, high credit card debt? Now, it's not a credit report, but, if they have extreme amount of debt to income ratios, things like that. And so based on that, if they like everything they see right there, there's a good chance that then they wouldn't require a full paramed. So my point is, if your clients work in that criteria and the underwriter doesn't get spooked by anything they see in the motor vehicle, the MIB, or the consumer report, we've seen policies get issued in a week or less. So I have literally seen policies get applied for on a Monday and get issued on a Friday because of the accelerated underwriting program. Now, it's not a guarantee. I'd say less than 40% of the people you think would qualify will qualify. It's amazing how many people have something in their motor vehicle report or the prescription drug database that just, the underwriters want to take a closer look, so they'll require full underwriting. Don't take it personally. Most people don't qualify for accelerated underwriting is my point. Yeah, so that's our accelerated program. That is pretty much my presentation. If you'd like to have some illustrations run, we have our phone number up here at the Life Case Design Team. What's great about that is you can use that number from anywhere around the country. So it isn't like that's just for the Northwest, which is where I work. That's the 1-800-950-7372. If you'd like to look at some of our sales, marketing, our business tools, some of our life sales kits, go to allianzlife.com/lifesalestools. That's an option for you. Again, my name is Jason Long. It was on the beginning, but I should have added it to this slide as well. If you have questions, send me an email. My email address is my name. It's jason.long, that's L-O-N-G, @allianzlife.com. You know what I'll do? I think I can still. I'll put it in the chat for everybody. And then I'll also give you the email address of my internal, Matt Hauge. That's in the chat for everybody, matt.hauge, H-A-U-G-E, @allianzlife.com. He's available for you to, really, I would lean on Matt if you got illustration questions, and of course, use that Life Case Design Team as well. Right, just under an hour there. Are there any questions, Vikram, I can answer for you or your team?
Jason, one question about people on visa. How do you consider their, based on what criteria you look for to issue the policies for people on visa?
Yeah, I second that question.
Yeah, so that would fall into our, popular question. That falls under our foreign national program. So again, it depends on the type of visa. I'll be blunt. I'm guessing, are most of your clients from India? Is that yeah. So if they're from India, right now that's not approved with Allianz. I think we're under review though, that might be changing. If you have green card, no problem. It really comes down to the type of visa. If it's a student visa, that doesn't qualify, for instance. So if you have a case in mind, one of the best things, you send me an email. I'll run it through underwriting for you until you start getting your contacts in underwriting, and we can take a look at that for you. So it all depends on the type of visa, the reason they're in the United States. Are they working here? Are they living here? There's about 4 or 5 different factors that get taken into consideration.
Yep. Thank you, Jason.
So can you talk a little, Jason, can you talk a little bit about the performance of the index strategies? Historical performance.
Historicals, yeah. Yeah, what I would say is the real returns we have seen before bonuses and participation rates have truly averaged since 2005. We average right around 7%. So you start taking bonuses and things like that into consideration, you're looking at 8 to 10% a year. Not guaranteed. Past performance is not indicative of futures, but we found our strategies. You know, if you look at the S&P or anything like that, that's a pretty typical average. The one thing I would say performance-wise that I think is really impressive is if you look at a mixture of our Bloomberg and PIMCO and Blend, they all average about that, 7%. But the thing I really like about those compared to, say, the S&P is how often do you see a 0 year? The S&P 500 typically will have a 0 about every 4.5, 5 years. So about 20% of the time, you're going to have a 0 year with the S&P. The Bloomberg and PIMCO, what we've seen is you have a 0 year about 4% of the time. So maybe once every 25 years. So while on the high end, they all kind of average the same, you're going to have more positive years, historically speaking, with the indexes compared to the S&P. The S&P is still available if you want to utilize it. What I can do, Vikram would have worked, I can send you the ticker symbols for the current indexes, and if you want to do your own investigation and take a look at the historicals, I encourage you to do that.
And one more question regarding the allocations. You mentioned that everything will be allocated to the annual bucket, point to point, from the contract anniversary date. So is there any scope for the client to apply dollar cost averaging within the contract?
Now, as it sits right now, we don't do the month. Now, let me say this. Right now, the answer is no. Dollar cost averaging doesn't really work with our product because we just do one annual bucket. We don't do the monthly buckets. What that allows us to do, though, is offer index lock. So that's the one advantage we have there versus, say, the dollar cost averaging that you're speaking of. That being said, we are exploring in the future of having the choice of an annual or monthly buckets in the future. But as the time sits right now, it's correct. It's just one annual opportunity based on your contract date.
Does the money sitting in the account during that annual time earn any kind of fixed interest while it is being allocated, or is directly going into the index?
Okay. Great question. With Allianz, your money never spends even a day in the fixed account unless you ask us to. So if you're, what's today's date? I always forget. 25th. If you started a contract today, the 25th, your premiums instantly go into the indexes on the 25th because we have our own desk and we sweep money 3 times a day. So it isn't like we only do it on the 15th, and so your money sits in a fixed account until the next sweep, that monthly sweep. Literally, when every premium payment comes in, it immediately goes into that index. So what we do with an annual bucket is your contract started, say, October 25th. As your money comes in as the months go on, we've already accounted for that because you told us this year, and in my example, you're going to pay $1,000 a month. Say, we're counting on you're going to have $12,000 going in. So we're just assuming it was $12,000 in your bucket at the end of the year, from the start to finish. So the money doesn't earn interest in fixed because it never sits in fixed. It immediately goes into the index.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jason.
Well,
this is Jagan.
you know, Allianz is really excited to. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would be a differentiator between Allianz versus any other? I mean, I think some of the other, I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, historically, everybody may be doing on average same, but why would I consider going to Allianz versus why not? I mean, I'm just throwing an example, Nationwide, where they have a 20% index cap on one of their solution.
Yeah, 24% cap is great. I'd say the difference, just on that question, is our 2 most popular allocations, Bloomberg and PIMCO, do not have a cap. So you could earn more than 24%. And I have seen accounts in the last few years earn more than 24% in both the Bloomberg and the PIMCO. So that's a little bit of a differentiator there, is that we have uncapped strategies. Index lock absolutely separates us from the competition, where if there's a volatile market, if you feel like, hey, I don't like the way that the Dow or the S&P is looking, you can capture your gain and avoid any volatility for the rest of the year. I'd say the other thing here's one thing that does differentiate us though versus the competition that I've seen. It's finally at this point in my career, 22 years in, where I really can look back and say, well, here's how it used to be, here's how it is now. What Allianz does is when we make improvements to our policies, whether it's adding a new index or a feature like index lock, we retroactively have gone back and then added those to past contracts. So if you bought a contract in 2006, you have these indexes and index lock available. When our rates literally went up this week. So if you're writing a contract today, you're gonna have a cap or a fixed account that's higher than it was if you wrote it last week. But as contracts are renewing that were written in 2006, 2005, they're also seeing an increase in their caps. Other carriers don't necessarily raise caps anymore once a policy's 5 or 10 years old. You know, you look back and you might see their S&Ps at 9 and a new contract's going to get a 10.5. With Allianz, we go back and we take care of our past clients. I think that's a big differentiator.
Thank you, Jason. And I think one more thing I heard, your fees are lower. I mean, managing the PIMCO and the other index, those fees are comparatively lower compared to managing S&P 500 funds or something. Is that also true? I mean, I just want to hear and confirm once again.
Yeah, the fees associated. Well, the fees associated with those it's kind of neat. We don't pay an investment bank since we do it internally. So whether it's the S&P, the Bloomberg, or the PIMCO, the cost is the cost. We absorb that. Your clients don't. It isn't like if you choose the Bloomberg. If this is what you're asking, it isn't like there's a higher fee to use the Bloomberg, say, versus using the S&P. The cost is the cost for those indexes. There's no additional fees if you decide I want to use one versus another. And then the savings from our indexing desk, like I mentioned, we've saved over $1 billion in commissions we would have had to pay an investment bank over the last 10 years. We literally take those savings and we've built it into our contract. So if you compare us to other carriers, and I'm not going to name them, but if you spreadsheet us against other carriers, you'll find the internal cost of the Allianz product is usually one of the least expensive when it comes to cost of insurance charges compared to some other carriers.
Thank you so much, Jason. Much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jason, thank you so much for your time. This was extremely beneficial. Maybe for illustration, I can get in touch with Matt and have him for one of the future weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You call Matt tomorrow. Let him know you're on the webinar. If you want to see some illustrations, he's happy to help.
I shall do that, Matt. Matt, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate everyone who were able to join. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful Monday. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, can you please share presentation?
Everybody.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, Jason will share with me, Bala, and I will share it with you.